Exactly, good. Sheikh, Walid gonna tell us very important, I would say, topic about pitching. I think a lot of people, a lot of game developers, especially, underestimate the importance of that, and we expect a very interesting and detailed presentation about that. So take your time, Walid, please.
All right. So hi, my name is Walid. I'm a pitching coach. This is very unusual setup for me. I don't know if there's any interactivity with the audience, but if you can tell me that you're alive or you're present, you can just type something in the chat, or if you have any questions or if you want to know anything before I start about this important topic, you can always engage with me. I welcome all the questions. So I am just trying now to check. Okay, no comments, no chat. So I cannot see the audience, but that's okay. My
Unfortunately,
topic
no.
is,
Yes,
sorry.
Walid. Yeah, unfortunately, no. But in the end, if you have any questions in chat, I will read them to you and you'll answer.
All right, so I'll leave the questions till the end. But if even if you have questions in the middle, you can ask and you can interrupt me. That's okay. I'm fine with that. So I wrote a book called Pitching for Life. That's what people know me for. I've been coaching in 35 countries, 67 cities, plus over 100,000 participants. All of them are people who tell me that, hey, I'm not confident with pitching. I I hate it, or I am uncomfortable. It makes me anxious. I'm not good at it. So my mission is to make it a little bit less uncomfortable for you. And also the people that I coach, they're not just startups. They can be ambassadors, they can be executives, they can be students. I coach in a lot of universities, for example. So the point here is that uh, pitching is a very important topic to survive. That's the name, Pitching for Life. And in the games industry, I've been coaching a lot. I've coached people who are um, actually want to do public speaking. For example, you go become a speaker in a conference. But I also work with user acquisition managers, and I work with the monetization managers, and I worked with the internal pitching sessions. For example, internal teams have been pitching for new ideas and how to convince your manager. So all that is important. I will explain how it fits, and I will explain to you what you should think about when it comes to pitching, uh, running a game developer studio, or if you're just in the studio making games, you need to really understand what's your role when it comes to pitching. So how to survive, you know, being an artsy, or maybe a little bit more on engineering side, or a little bit more kind of understanding pitching from all the perspectives of business, technology, science, and design. My way of coaching is to basically inspire people and let them learn by doing. So it requires a little bit of learning and unlearning. So in a normal workshop, we practice with exercises. And the most important thing from all that is that you are calm, you're at peace, you're doing it with ease and comfort. So that's what pitching should be for everybody. Um, and I'm not biased. I used to be in a place where I was anxious and super uncomfortable. Actually, my first public talk was in the games industry on stage in Pocket Gamer, I think 2016 in Helsinki. So I had to go through all that, being uncomfortable, not knowing what to do, and becoming a master. So I'm hoping to pass that experience to everybody. I am a human. I like many things. If you connect with any of those, like traveling or climbing or sports in general, fishing, that's the first time I ever caught a fish. But for me, it's about nature and trying new things. And I'm at best when I'm working with people. This is this is a little bit about me. If you connect with any of that and you would like to have a question later, feel free to ask about pitching or about my story or about me as a coach. For me, pitching is just going from 0 to 1 plus. The plus here is very important. You need to survive before you strive. Those are very important. So pitching is a way of communicating it helps you to get, let's say, from 0 to 1. Let's say you have 0 customers, you get 1 customer or 2 customers, or your idea is at valuation 0 and it has valuation 1 or 10,000 or 1 million or 1 billion. So your job to understand the role or objective of pitching is to get from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3. And you cannot jump. You cannot just go from 0 to a million. It depends also on the industry. Some industries, for example, you need a billion users, like Facebook, for example. In some industries, you're happy just to have 10 customers or 10 partners, or you can have 10 interactions. It's fine, but the 0 to 1 plus is very important. You're going from nothing to somewhere, and then you're growing that something to a little bit bigger with communication, with pitching, and so on. In your industry, this is really important. When you're making games, if you're just making them for yourself, you're just expressing yourself. So your objective here is to express yourself. Hey, can I make this game? Or I build this game just for me. But then the peer-oriented creativity is when you start making games to impress someone. You want recognition. You want someone to like you, hire you, or tell you, hey, Willie, you did a good job. But the second you start thinking about games in a commercial sense, then you're addressing the public. So it's not enough to impress yourself and peers and professionals. You need to impress, the ultimate people who are actually paying for your games. And your objective here is to make money, of course. So in the previous ones, maybe expressing yourself, want recognition. So here, the most important thing to understand is that when you're pitching in any of these boxes, the pitching changes. The way you do it, the way you need to approach it, and so on. And that's why, for example, we struggle to get funding, we struggle to get publishers, we struggle to get partners, because when money is involved, it's a little bit more than, hey, let's be cool or let's express myself. So I hear this a lot in pitching, that I'm bad at pitching or I'm not good at it. And there's no such thing as being bad or not good. You're either prepared or not prepared. You're either trained or not trained. In all the literature, when it comes to pitching or entrepreneurship in general, entrepreneurial pitching, preparedness, commitment, and passion, they are the three theories or three topics that are repeating. So investors, they want to know that you're prepared. Partners, they want to know that you're prepared. Customers, they want you to know that, hey, you're prepared to serve them. Commitment means that you're not going to stop doing that. And passion means that you are doing it with love, with care, like you're really passionate about it. So those three also kind of has inclination to how you approach pitching. I see a lot of people who have great ideas, but then when it comes to actually pitching them, they don't take it seriously. For example, they are not saying the right things, or they are not looking the part, or they are not making enough effort. So those things are already affecting your pitch. And it really affects you when you have a plan, but then someone tells you like, hey, ask you a question, are you prepared? And then you can't answer that. So pitching really helps you to have a plan, have the right plan, but then also to face the punches. The worst thing is like when you get the KO from the first time you go to the market. So you want to take enough punches so you don't get the KO, but you also want to be in a position that you can use pitching to make a new plan. If something doesn't work, let's say one of your players doesn't like what you have achieved or what you have published for them, they give you a feedback. And if you can't adjust to that feedback, then okay, you're out of business. So pitching helps you to basically understand a little bit the market, but then readjust to your plan. And a lot of people tell me that, hey, I'm shy, I'm anxious, pitching is not for me. Those are elements of the mindset. And mindset is really important to tackle. When it comes to pitching, you need to have a strong mindset, you need to build the content, and then you need to work on the delivery. And it goes in that order, because if you have a great content and if you have practiced your delivery, but then anything on the stage or anything with people throws you off, it means that the mindset is a little bit not there. And there are ways how to build the mindset. And the first step is to tell yourself, like, hey, pitching is not a punishment. This is something I need to do. It's a blessing every time I get to do it. And you don't need to be perfect. You basically need to improve. And the hardest thing in any pitch is to get a really good content. And I feel like in the games industry, content on a business level is the hardest. That's where this commercial creativity side, where you need to make money, we struggle a little bit in communicating the value of what we're doing. So let's assume mindset is there. The content needs a lot of insights about how to talk informatively, concisely, and in a memorable way. And then the delivery here, there's a magical number. We don't practice enough. We need to practice 21 times the content, and then nothing could throw you off, provided you have strong mindset. So delivery is the easiest to do, the easiest to train. And the biggest mistakes that happen in pitching are in the logic, noise, and focus areas. Logic means that you have the wrong arguments. I'm going to come back to that point again. Noise means that you're communicating in a way that is not concise, meaning that instead of saying something in 5 words, you say it in 12 words. These extra 7 words are noise. And noise is like cancer for pitching. If you're communicating in a way that is hard for you or harder for the other person to listen, it's not ideal, because people have very short attention span, and then they have very, very easy ways to switch off from you as a presenter. And focus here, focus means that you have a focus storyline, that you're talking from beginning till the end in a way that people are with you, and you're not jumping through different parts, and it's not taking so much brain cells for them to understand what you're doing, meaning that you're making it easy for them. So just a summary, logic means that you have the right arguments. If you're pitching to investors, you show them profitability. If you're pitching to publishers, you show them that, hey, there's a clear business sense here. You only need to help us with marketing and maybe other things, but we have a strong game. We only need the business side with you, like we need you as a partner. And for example, if you're pitching to customers, you show them that, hey, this game is fun, or this what we're doing is relevant for them. Noise means that we communicate efficiently. Focus, that means that we are communicating in a focused way, in a way that people listen from beginning till the end. All right. So in order to do something with confidence, you need to really understand what it is. I'm going to walk you through what pitching is from beginning till the end, and in a way that I dissect it for you. The first thing about pitching is that it's informative. There's some information that you bring to the table. This information has to be delivered in a concise way, and it has to be memorable. And here, memorable, there's no formula for that. People remember 1, 2, 3, maybe 5 things from your presentation. The most important thing for them to remember is maybe something about the unique selling point, about the name or the brand, and maybe about the purpose of your pitch, like why are you pitching? Then the other two, you can decide what it is. Is it something, an element of your business model, or an element of your game mechanics, or an element of your team? It's up to you. But being memorable in today's world that is competitive, super crowded, super easy to get into the market, the barriers to market are very low. So we need to stand out by being memorable. That's why, for example, people wear red hoodies and some funny hats, and play with the logos and try to do all the branding stuff. But when it comes to pitching, how do you become memorable? That's the good question. Also, when pitching, there's 3 variables, I call them. There's an element of time, how long we speak. Is it 1 minute? Is it 8 seconds? Is it 15 minutes? Tone means, do we talk formally, informally? Do we dress formally, informally? Do we look formally or informally? Are we aiming to being friendly, or are we aiming to being, let's say, assertive? So on. The tone is really important variable. And then timing means, when do we say what? So do we say the unique selling point at the beginning, at the end, in the middle, or do we approach people now, later? What timing can be a factor when networking, for example, like how to approach someone and when. And it's very important to understand that it's your role as a presenter to influence your audience. That's the formula, bottom, top down. And your ultimate goal is to win the trust on a human level in order to persuade. So pitching has an element of persuasion. And persuasion means that you build this trust with humans. I see a lot of people being very hasty. They want to make someone buy on a phone call, or they want you to say yes in the moment and they don't even know exactly what you're doing. Or for example, I find it really difficult for people to understand from a short video how cool is your game. So our demos or trailers of our games can be a little bit dull, a little bit slow. And how do you build trust? How do you show that your game is fun? So this trust on a human level is a key factor when it comes to persuading. And there's another layer here. In a lot of books, in a lot of pitching material, and a lot of pitching coaches, they tell you you want to grab their attention, you want to get them interested, your audience, or get them motivated. But I'm adding a new layer here. You want to soothe their doubt, meaning that they cannot doubt what you're saying. If you're presenting a demo for a game and they doubt that it's fun, they're not going to download it. Or you present, let's say, a new feature or a new update for the game that could be good, but then they doubt, like, hey, this is not a cool thing. So soothing the doubt is basically what ultimately persuades someone. It makes them trust you more when they doubt you less. So you want your customers to feel like that's the right experience for them beyond any doubt. So this is inspired by Chris Voss, this FBI negotiator, in his book, I Never Split the Difference. He says you should aim for that's right. You want your audience to feel like, hey, that's the right thing for me, but I'm adding this beyond doubt to the equation. So ultimately, the definition of a pitch, based on all that, it is a presentation that has a purpose. And this purpose means that you are aiming to persuade someone. And the purpose can be an ask, let's say, download a game or buy my game, but it can also be a desire, like follow our Instagram page, or I'm pitching for you to like me as a person. So my way of teaching pitching is, I mentioned it like pitching for life. So you can adapt any pitch to any situation, to any audience on any platform, meaning that this, based on this definition, you can build any pitch for anyone. Let's say anytime you're presenting with a purpose, it can be a pitch. We have been doing this since the beginning of time with drawings, with gestures, and you as a person have been doing it since the first day you were born. For example, you were crying for food or showing hunger or telling your mother to or father to change your diaper. So you presented, you had a purpose. Something happened along the way. We stopped doing it properly, and or we didn't practice it enough, or we haven't prepared for it enough, or all that, plus that the business environment nowadays is changing so fast, meaning that the way people make decisions is very, very illogical and logical at the same time. So if we split this presentation with the purpose, if we expand a bit the presentation, every presentation has a message and arguments. And now it's getting a little bit more complex. So how do we find those arguments? That's the most important thing. Because if you look at the purpose is dictating the arguments. Let's say, here's a shirt, I want you to buy this shirt. Or here's a shirt, I want you to wear this shirt. Or here's a shirt, I want an investor to invest in my shirt company. So the purpose here is changing. Wear, buy, invest. So my message is the same. Here's a shirt. But then if I want you to invest, the arguments are a little bit different than if I want you to wear the shirt. So that's how the purpose is dictating the arguments. And one way to improve your argumentation is to understand your scenario, meaning that this is a tool that I call Why Do We Pitch, or Why Do We Exist? It's inspired by that. So I usually use it like this. I start from the middle, like, who is the audience? Okay, investor. what do I want from this investor? I want 1 million euros. What am I pitching my game company or my t-shirt company? So based on this, what are the arguments that I should give to that person? And of course, the why is bigger than the purpose. The why is like, if I get the million euros, my company might grow. The valuation of the company is bigger. Another thing, if I'm pitching to a customer, I want him to buy or her, and then here's my t-shirt. But then there are different types of customers. If I go a little bit deeper into the persona, let's say I want a particular customer, a male student, So if I go deeper, then the arguments become a little bit deeper. If I'm pitching to one particular person, then I would need to understand their psychology. And this tool, for example, can be used for any situation. Let's say I'm pitching to my girlfriend, I want her to marry me, I'm pitching our life together. I'm pitching to my best friend, I want him to come with me to the bar tonight, to this specific bar, and I'm pitching an experience. So it's a really nice tool to use, and most importantly, to understand what are the arguments that I'm going to use in this particular situation. And in your field, you want to understand that whenever you're building a game, you have an audience. This audience is different. So I see that a lot of game companies, they have one approach to marketing, one approach to let's say having a website, one approach to having a demo game, one approach to communicating, and I find it a little bit limiting. And I know that I will get so many questions about that, but in all the successful titles that I've seen, they find ways how to attract diverse audiences. They know how to communicate within the game, within their marketing. It's about how they formulate these arguments and also how they formulate the environment around these arguments and so on. But this is just eye-opening for you that whenever you're building a pitch, you need to really understand your audience and you need to understand your scenario so you can build the right arguments. And we need them to, we need them to trust us. We need them to not doubt us. Those are the most important pillars or most important factors when it comes to pitching. And pitching by itself is very easy. Here's a template that you can use for any situation. You have a message, here's a game, here's whatever message that you have. You want to think about what could this person doubt or what could this person ask me about? And based on my purpose that I want. So you think about what do I want to achieve from this pitch? And then you formulate questions and you answer those questions that could lead to this purpose. And this is where when I mentioned the content. All this let's say groundwork to create your pitch is about creating a really good content that builds trust and avoids or reduces the level of doubt in the audience mind. And I would like to hear questions about that at the end, because this is when I hear a question, I can answer it more with examples. And from a template, you can create a storyline. So there's an opening and closing, message, arguments, purpose. And the order of these elements doesn't matter. You can start, let's say, hey, I'm looking for a publisher. We have a very, very attractive game, very, let's say, healthy game that is the numbers are great, and here's the game. So I completely reverse the order. It doesn't matter how you use it, as long as you have all these three and they are in sync. The purpose dictating the arguments, and you have the message that is clearly communicated. It's very important for us whenever we're communicating to have a strong opening and a powerful ending. And then the unique selling point and the arguments are clearly stated. Like, I understand what is the unique selling point, but I also feel like, hey, it doesn't take you 15, 20 seconds to start your presentation. You go straight to the topic, and you also don't ask or don't state your purpose in a way from a position of weakness. For example, when you're doing a good presentation and in the end you're saying, hey, please, if you like my presentation, I beg you, come invest in me. That's a little bit not powerful, So you want to show a little bit some confidence that, hey, you actually have something here. Confidence, not arrogance, but also powerful endings here mean that you also are not too pushy, not too aggressive, but not weak. Strong opening means that you go straight to the point in the first 8 to 15 seconds. You at least state your best arguments, or you actually state the message clearly. And those have a link to today's world. Like, we are busy, we don't have time to wait for you for a minute or two, or not even 15 seconds. You want to imagine TikTok style, like how fast do we switch? Go straight to the point, go straight to the biggest arguments if you can, and just imagine that people are not going to read 15 lines to get to the juicy stuff, unless they're reading a novel and they already signed up for it, you know. But not everybody's signing in to read your website or to watch your demo properly. I see a lot of game demos being like, oh my god, like 15 seconds at least for the intro, and there's nothing there. No fun elements of the game, nothing is happening. So this is exactly the opposite of that. And the most important thing for us to understand when pitching is that we need to show the value to receive the value. Showing the value means that people understand the unique selling point, that the arguments, that they understand what you're communicating, and the biggest arguments, like, uh, yes, it is about fun, but what type of fun? Or, for example, yes, it is about having an experience, an immersive experience, but what type of immersive experience? They need to understand it, and they need to understand it quickly. That's what people aim for. On average, investors, they spend less than 60 seconds on a pitch deck, and it's funny, like, they pretend that they spend longer, but they don't. They skim it quickly. They want to see it as quickly as possible, so they want to see the value. And if it takes them a longer time, if they have to put their detective hat trying to understand what you're trying to communicate to them, you already lost, because they don't do that. They just, okay, there's nothing here, next. So building trust, soothing the doubt, showing the value to receive the value, those are very critical when it comes to pitching. So I want to ask you, how do you usually do it? And most of the times when I talk to people, they think that they're bad at pitching because they don't understand this key, or they don't understand how to incorporate them for their game, for their venture. And those are easily fixed. They um, sometimes a mentor can see something faster than you, or sometimes watching a video or watching something, or attending a workshop that can help. But whatever it takes, you need to be prepared. You need to train for it, and you need to also show some passion. Don't forget that. The unique selling point when it comes to whatever that you're pitching is something that everybody has to remember. It is basically the value, but the unique selling point is your biggest argument. A lot of people don't understand what is their unique selling point. And of course, in all the games, we are looking for fun. But what kind of fun? Or is it only fun? Can it be some sort of an experience? We're selling an experience here. But what kind of an experience? That's what's important. And when it comes to selling, what we tend to do, we tend to go so deep into describing the features, and we forget that whenever there's an experience, it's always about our users and customers. So this Mario is becoming a Super Mario. That's what sells, not the million features that are involved about this flower, or the mushroom that Mario is eating. So my point here is that instead of selling the features, you want to sell what's in it for them, for the customers. So I'll give an example here. Imagine if you're selling a laptop to a student. You're not going to tell me all the patents on all the technologies and all the features and apps that the student can get. It will never end. It will take 5 days. But what really works is that you explain to the student that, hey, this laptop helps you to become a better student or a super student. It helps you to graduate. That's all that the student cares about if they're going to use their laptop as a student. There's the internet. That's one feature. There's your Word document, and there's all the other stuff that you can access from your university. That's what good selling is about. It's not about selling a million features together. People want to know what's in it for me. Investors want to know how can they make profits from this venture. Publishers want to know how many copies you can sell together with them. Partners want to know what do they get from this? Is it money, or is it some sort of collaboration that could mean more market share? Your customers want the fun, but what kind of fun? How do you sell fun to them? That's what you want to think about when pitching. And again, if it's confusing, it doesn't help. That's why, for example, Google and Apple, they are good at selling their products, because they have a million other things that are hidden. They don't show them. They simplify it for the user. And the user, they want what they want. They have particular needs, and we need to understand those needs. The needs are not in the features. The needs are in the usability or functionality or whatever experience they are looking for, not what you're thinking that you're providing to them. And all that affects your pitch, because if you need to pitch a box, it's different than you're pitching this 3, 4, 5 tower kitty, whatever. I don't even know what it's called, but this is a really nice example for you to understand that you need to understand the users. Then you need to understand the content of your pitch. Then it becomes easier for you to pitch. Here's another example that if you understand the users, their needs and their problems, then it becomes easier for you to pitch. Here, for example, there's a person who's hungry, so their need is they need food, but the real problem is that they are vegan and the nearest restaurant is far away. Or they are a student and they can't afford this particular restaurant. So those are two different businesses, two different things to pitch. And if you're pitching all that together, it becomes a little bit confusing. And for you to understand is that also sometimes people, they like what you're doing. They like your products, they like your service, but something is stopping them from buying or using your solution. For example, like when I play one game, I usually focus on it and I don't want to play another game. So even if I like this other game, I postpone it. So there's an element of time. Like I want to finish this first game, then I play this other game. So that's the timing. You have a mobile subscription and you have a 1-year contract, so you cannot switch from that. So there's a legal obligation. Sometimes you really like the solution, but you have a legal obligation. Sometimes you're too lazy to walk 1 kilometer to the restaurant. Sometimes there's an SAS program that I think this was in maritime industry, and the managers, they don't know how to use it. So they're still using Excel and whatever, paper and pen. So for them, it's irrelevant to buy this new technology because they wouldn't know how to use it. The point here is that when you're creating your pitch, you really need to understand that the pitch doesn't stop when you deliver it and you hear a no. It's always better to understand why no, and is there something that could help you switch to us? This could help you to start thinking of us and understanding our users and their problems and their needs helps us to create better content for our pitch. And we need to really remember that people don't make decisions in a logical way. I mean, we are trying in the games industry to understand our users, our players. We do a lot of analysis on them. And sometimes it's very hard to predict what they're going to do next. But let's think about it from a very practical perspective. Let's say you're pitching a new game idea to your manager, and that person, your manager, is really busy. He's not even listening to you. So you probably pitched a really good idea to them, but they haven't listened to it, or they haven't heard the unique selling point of this, or they haven't had time to do some analytical work, or they had a bad experience before. So they're making a bad call based on a previous bad experience. So here the pitch doesn't stop. Here you want to ask them like, hey, what's influencing your decision? You can improve your content by just understanding what kind of arguments you can bring up next. Or if you know it beforehand and you didn't bring it, you need to ask yourself, why didn't I, for example, present to them these particular arguments? So it all goes back to that. Like, we have a purpose. We want this manager to accept our new idea or approve it. But then what kind of arguments should I tell this person based on this, let's say, new idea? The message is very easy to formulate. Here's a new idea. But why this new idea? Why now? Why should we say yes to it? Why should we even consider it? That's kind of where pitching becomes interesting, because you're trying to persuade that person to say yes to that, or to believe that, hey, that's the right solution for beyond doubt for them or for the company. This is a little bit heavy, a little bit academic. It's an article about negotiation. So there's a link between pitching and negotiation. I just want to simplify it for you quickly. Basically, when it comes to pitching, and let's say you want, this is the case where someone wanted to hire me as a consultant to get Spotify as a partner for them. They had a music app, like you can create a shareable, or like, it was a long time ago. It was like a universal playlist where everybody can contribute to it in a concert or something like that. So they wanted to get Spotify, and I told them, like, Spotify, you won't get them today. What you need to do, you need to create several stages of pitching. And to be fair, I think there were like 12 different steps that we needed to achieve before we approached Spotify. So sometimes it takes us a long time to get to the big client or to the big partner, but we need to understand how the game goes. So you're not able to persuade everybody from the beginning. So you need to understand who to approach first, how to approach them, how to formulate the right arguments for them, how to get, let's say, the first strategic partners or the first content providers, some industry people regarding this music app. So, and then you're growing, and then you become attractive for Spotify, and then you get that. We never got that far in this case, because I think this is just for learning purposes. It's a good example, but sometimes we don't get to what we want when it comes to pitching because it's too big for us, or it's too early, or we're not big enough for them. There is a mismatch. So of course they are not trusting us. So there's an element of trust, like, why should we even partner with them? We're wasting our time. All right. When it comes to pitching, I still have a few more slides. When it comes to pitching, it's really good to understand that clarity, simplicity, and specificity are the most important pillars, meaning that clarity means that when I speak, someone understands. Simplicity means that when I say something, it's easy for me to say, and it's easy for them to listen. And specificity means that I'm specific enough. And specificity is the hardest one to do, because we need to communicate in a way that people, like, for example, when you say this game is fun, but how? You need to show it. Or this solution saves time, money, effort. How? Or just an easy example, like, if you don't mention that this is an electric car, it's very hard to understand that it's Tesla, right? So the word electric here is being specific. So usually when I'm coaching or judging pitching competitions, most of the times people are not specific enough. They are talking on a macro level. They want to say everything, and then they end up saying nothing. So here, communicating clearly, being very, like, using very simple language that a 5-year-old understands, but also being specific in a way that you give the right examples, the right content, and you formulate sentences that are deep, like, to explain your case. There's no room for imagination. And you connect the most with your audience when they're interested in what you're saying. If some people like the type of games or the type of mechanics or the type of environment that you show them, or whatever that you're presenting to them, if I'm interested, I'm 100% already in. But then likability is another layer. Sometimes I'm not interested, but I know someone else was interested. Like, for example, if you're going to a shoe store and you don't like red shoes, but you know that your brother or your friend might like it, so you tell them, hey, here's a nice store, you can buy your shoes from here. And being likable can open doors for you. For example, when you are pitching your game idea to someone and they like you, but they're not interested in your game, they might know someone that might be interested. So likability goes very far in this industry. And the most important layer how to connect with your audience is to put effort. You sweat for it, you actually show that you care, you have passion, you have commitment, and you show that you're prepared. And likability and interest, you cannot fully control them, but effort, you can control fully what you do there. So I like this quote by Idris Elba. You need to really improve your arguments versus being louder. No matter how loud you're going to be, but your arguments suck, it means you're out. People don't care. So how do you improve your arguments? And this is the most important thing in all the startups, in all this entrepreneurial setup. I've been coaching in like almost 100 different accelerator incubator around the world. What really matters is that you're really building something out of that has value to someone. Like someone likes what you're doing. Someone likes you as a founder. Someone is believing in you, believing in your ideas. And how do you achieve that? You basically achieve that by working on it. I see a lot of startups pitching ideas, just ideas. They have not worked on their content. It's very hard to convince people with that. That's why investors and publishers, they're grilling you about the details of the business plan, about the business model, about traction, all that, because they don't believe, they don't trust, they don't see the arguments that you're showing to them. And the best way to show that the game works is to actually show that it's fun and show that a lot of people like it. You have a community around it, you have some support around it. And argumentation happens on many layers. You can describe the concept, you can describe the business model, you can talk about the team, the traction, and the purpose. So giving a variety of arguments, that's really important. On my website, pitchingforlife.com/download, you can find those pitching templates. You can download them for free that actually have like separate places where you can say what. So that's a nice resource for you. And I'm not even asking your email for that. I don't care about that. What I really am passionate about is to help people to present any topic to anyone on any platform. Um, Argumentation is the most important thing in pitching. And what I usually see is that people are just describing something. They forget to mention, let's say, the business model part or the team part, or they don't do it properly. They are just here, let's say, the concept of noise is like when you're talking too much about your team, things that are not relevant. Here you want to think about what could someone doubt about my team. I could mention that. They could doubt, is this team committed? Can they actually do it? Will they actually stay together if something happens? Or can they really hire the next talent that they really need? Can they really inspire other people to do whatever they need to do to succeed? Something about traction. Can they actually get enough users? Something about business model. Are they targeting the right audience, or are they targeting just anybody? So to build a good pitch, you could actually formulate like bullet points for each of these subsections, like arguments that could help you. And in most cases, you're not using all these arguments together. You need to have a nice cocktail of them, depending on your scenario. Yes, you have a scenario, then you start thinking, okay, how long should I take about the concept? Okay, these guys really care about the money here. So I describe the concept a little bit, then I talk about the business model part a lot, like let's say 30%, then 30% I talk about the team, and then 20% I talk about my traction. And then let's wait for them to ask me questions more. You know, that's how you start becoming a master pitcher. You start understanding like, oh, I need to have different layers or different elements in every pitch. Most of the times, let's say if you have a 30 seconds pitch or 8 seconds pitch, in 8 seconds you have maximum 30 words to say. It's like a Twitter style pitching. A lot of people are not trained enough to do that. But let's say you're in Slush or in a pocket game or in some conference, like like in the conference, you usually need to prepare these short pitches. Like someone asks you, "What do you do?" That's your that's your that's your let's say opportunity to do it. And it's very important to have a context, like to have the right context for your argumentation, and quantity and quality of arguments. Quality means that you have the best argument, which is the unique selling point. Quantity means that you have a lot. Usually in 1 minute presentation, you should have about 15 arguments. An argument can be one word, like affordable, 2 words, easy to use, and it can also be an example, like you mentioned an example. And your biggest struggle is to find those golden words, the opposite of noise, and to understand that you have some technical terminology and incorporate some emotional cues. And that's why you should be very strategic in your communication, because you have a limited amount of words in every presentation. In 1 minute, you can say up to 160 words. So these 160 words should be golden words, not noise. Noise takes away from your argumentation. And this is just one example how to do it. You just take away words that don't add up. And that's how you become trained how to do it. And it actually is an art, and it takes a lot of effort to talk shortly, to be concise, and to be memorable. Mark Twain, he says that I didn't have time to write a short letter, so I wrote a long one instead, because he was lazy or he just was busy. And that's what usually happens. And this is the template that I mentioned that you can have to download. This is just an example, like how you build a complete pitch. Let's say this is a typical one if you're building a pitch to a publisher or investor. And the storyline becomes a little bit more sophisticated here. I could stop, or I'll go through this. These are like maybe businesses. I'll go quickly through that. We really need to sell. We need to sell ourselves. We need to sell ideas. We need to sell products, games, whatever. So to make a living, we cannot be without it. And at any certain time in the business or in life, we need to understand that when we're starting, we're pitching in one way. Then when we're growing, we're pitching different. So the pitch is never stops becoming easy. It's just evolving, becoming different, and your pitch is always changing depending on the changes in the market, changes in your situation. And if you're becoming better at pitching, tomorrow you're pitching for 5 million instead of today, let's say 50,000, and so on. So just what is important for you to understand is like, what could someone doubt? What could someone not want to listen to, or what could someone challenge us for? That's what you need to be prepared for. Same thing in the market. What could actually create a chasm for us? That's what we really need to address. And Steve Jobs, he always says that you need to focus. And when you focus, you say no to hundreds of ideas. And when you focus, the pitching becomes easier, because it's easier for you to understand what you're doing. It's easier for you to understand how to build your content. And when we're pitching our games or anything, let's not forget that there is some value that we're presenting, and then we are also presenting our brand, our products, and our experiences. So what is the value from all that for someone? That's what we really need to focus on. And I think this is the one slide that I love to always talk about, is that we're pitching value, but we also want to be a reference and a preference in the eyes of our users and our people that we're pitching to. Let's say if I'm a good worker and I'm pitching to my manager, I want him to think of me first. I want him to prefer me, to come to me to ask for advice or for whatever I'm doing. Or if I think about my preference for booking accommodation, it's Airbnb. There are other references like booking.com and TripAdvisor. I don't remember. Usually you forget the other options because you have a preference. You always use one. You have a preference for your favorite restaurant, favorite shoe store, favorite fast food, all that. So, and it goes first like, hey, we're pitching the value, then we're doing it so well that we become a reference, then we become a preference. In the games industry, is the same thing. people start understanding what you're doing, start playing your games, then it becomes the game that they want to play and nothing else. So when it comes to pitching, if you do the same mistakes twice after my session, it becomes a choice. So I hope that this was insightful. It was a lot, I know. I welcome all your questions, and I'm happy to stay a bit longer if the organizers can allow it. If not, feel free to ask any question on LinkedIn or via email. Pitchingforlife.com, you can find all my contact details. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Walid. It was very detailed, very interesting presentations. Unfortunately, we have no more time for questions, but as far as our viewers got all your contacts, they will definitely contact you via LinkedIn, which is very, very easy to do. I would like to say that for a majority of people from game dev industry, who are usually more like introvert people, this pitching task is mission impossible usually. But after this presentation, when we realized that if you split your big goal in some small steps, when you know already what you need to do, this mission doesn't look impossible anymore. And I believe our viewers, could definitely use this, not the tweaks, but these best practices, how to be useful to other people and how to make other people useful to you. So thank you very much again for the presentation. It was very nice.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, and we continue with our next presentation literally in a few minutes.
All right. So no questions. I can sign off.
Unfortunately, no.
All right. Perfect. Have a
Bye
nice
bye.
day. Ciao.
Yes.